If I were to tell you that Oklahoma's only going to win 8 games in this up and coming season, what would you say? I'll tell you one thing. If any of you guys, and I respect you a ton, but if any of you came up to me and said, I think Oklahoma's only going to win 8 games next year, I'd have to pimp slap you. And I'd have to do it in front of your girl as well. I wouldn't even feel bad about it because I feel like you deserve it. Oklahoma's only going to win 8 games in the Big 12? Are you kidding me? Whoa. Hold on. I know what you're probably sitting there saying. Yo, Matt, why is 8 games important? The reason I brought that up is because recently the win totals for every team, it's been released. And the total wins projected for Oklahoma this year is 8.5. And the reason they come out with these win totals is because you can bet on them before the year. You can take the over or the under. So for those of you people that do take the under on that bet, that means you're saying they're only going to win 8 games. I'm the last person on this earth that believes in Dillon Gabriel. I'm not hating on him, he's just got to prove something to me. But even I think it's utterly ridiculous to say Oklahoma's not going to win 9 games. If they were in the SEC, okay, it'd make a little more sense. But the Big 12, come on, man. I do respect the Big 12, but they're not the SEC. And I know somebody's going to say, well, Matt, that's you being SEC biased. And no, it's not, you idiot. Just because I think the SEC is a better conference, it isn't me being SEC biased. It's just the cold hard truth. I can't help the SEC is the best conference. It just so happens I'm also a fan of the SEC. And in reality, none of this is going to matter in a couple of years because the SEC will be without any question or doubt whatsoever the greatest conference of all time. They're getting Oklahoma and Texas, so if you didn't think they were the best before, I don't know what to tell you. I think we're all in the same boat though. We can agree the SEC is the best, and if you don't agree, just click out this video now because I think you're a complete moron. But here's where I think most people do disagree. Me personally, I think the gap between the SEC and the second best conference, it's huge. It's not even close. At number 1, obviously, I got the SEC, but at number 2, I'd have to go with the Big 12. Although I don't think the Big 12's that great, I do respect them. The Big 10, and this is just my opinion, we can agree to disagree on this, I don't care. I think they're the most overrated conference of all time. You take Ohio State out of that conference, they're miserable. You can't say the same thing for the SEC. Yeah, you could take Alabama out, but they're still the best. The Big 10's just a bunch of mediocre teams that are overrated and always overhyped. Michigan's a good prime example. You also got teams like Wisconsin, they're always ranked inside the top 15 or top 10 for no reason. And then last year, I was so beyond frustrated and pissed off about this, you had people trying to say Michigan State was the real deal. No. They weren't the real deal because they didn't play any competition, and when they did play competition, and I'm speaking of Ohio State, they got exposed. Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the score 56-0 at half? It was embarrassing. And keep in mind, Ohio State last year, I thought they were good, but they weren't really that great. Michigan State's secondary, and I believe this, I'm not trolling, I think they're not too much better than a high school secondary, at least for last year. All of that's a different conversation for a different day though, you get my point. I'm not a fan of the Big 10. I just think they're overrated, and I thought Michigan State, they proved my point last year. I don't think the Big 12's all too impressive, but somebody's got to be the second best conference, and I'm not going to put the Big 10 there. At least for the past 4 to 5, 6 years, Oklahoma, they've been going to the college football playoff, and you've also had Baylor and, not Ohio State, but Iowa State in the mix of things. They also had TCU that was really good that one year. But that's what I'm getting to and saying. The gap between the SEC and everybody else, that's why I don't think it's that close. And then we got the ACC. What a joke that is. Outside of Clemson, they're miserable as well. And then the Pac-12 is a laughingstock. The Pac-12 is going to be interesting, and ironically enough, that leads me into my next point perfectly. Oklahoma's win total projected is 8.5, and that is straight up beyond disrespectful. But guess what? USC, the team that went 5-7 last year, their win total is projected to be 9.5. A USC team that was terrible last year, their win total this year is supposed to be 9.5. I'm going to re-emphasize this, Oklahoma's is 8.5. I wonder why that is. No, I don't. It's simple. They got Oklahoma's players. They got the coach and they got the quarterback. I don't want to say I don't understand it because I do. USC is in a very, and I mean a very weak conference. They got arguably the greatest coach in the conference already, and also arguably the greatest quarterback, and probably the greatest wide receiver. USC will have no problem whatsoever scoring the ball, and I wouldn't be shocked if they average 40 points per game. The only question mark surrounding them, and it's a major concern, is the defense. What if Caleb Williams isn't playing good? Can the defense get some stops? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I am very comfortable with USC being at 9.5 wins. I don't have a problem with that. Where my problem comes with this, and I couldn't believe it was real. I seriously thought it was a joke on some troll website, but it is. Oklahoma's only supposed to win 8.5 games. At least, that's what the projections say. May I remind you, they're not even the SEC yet. They're in the Big 12, which, like I've stated, isn't too impressive. There's no reason for me to believe the Big 12's even scary. Texas isn't even close to being back. I'm going to pull up their schedule right here. I just don't see how you can look at it and say they're going to lose 4 games. In their first 4 games, they play UTEP, Kent State, Nebraska, and Kansas State. I don't see an L on any of them. Nebraska's terrible. Didn't they go 3-9 last year? And Kansas State, they're Kansas State. After those 4 games, in the next 4, you got TCU, Texas, Kansas, and Iowa State. If you want to say Texas pulls off the upset, and I would consider an upset, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. That's only 1. But Kansas, they're only projected to win like 2 games, and then Iowa State. And then you got Baylor after that. The last 3 games could be tricky because you do got West Virginia and they just got JT Daniels. Apparently they're on the rise, and you do have Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Here's my biggest takeaway. I think everybody's acting like Lincoln Riley completely gutted the program and they're going to be falling off for the next couple of years. You have to understand, and if you're a college football fan, you know what I'm talking about. Oklahoma's Oklahoma. They're never going to be bad. They're never going to have a 3-9 season or a 5-7 season like Texas had. I could be completely wrong. Maybe they go out there next year and wet the bed. I just don't see that happening. You do have people concerned about Brent Venables, the new head coach from Clemson. Although I don't necessarily believe he's going to carry him to a championship next year, I think he's going to do just fine. I get it. He's a defensive head coach. He's going to an offensive system, but he'll get help along the ways. He's got good offensive coordinators. I just have a hard time seeing Oklahoma only win 8 games. I am very curious. Let me know your thoughts on that down below. We got 2 more topics I want to touch on. I happened to look at some of the week 1 matchups and I didn't even realize they were that good. I knew we had the Oregon and Georgia one, and that's the one I want to see, but we also got Notre Dame and Ohio State on September 3rd. That's going to be an interesting one because reason number 1, Notre Dame got a new head coach, and number 2, I want to see CJ Stroud. Now, I saw him play last year, but I want to see if he can come back and dominate in that first game. Another reason I want to see this game is because I can't stand Notre Dame always being overhyped and ranked inside the top 10 and 5 every single year. They somehow steal a playoff spot and get blown out in every single, not just occasionally, but every single big time game. I am beyond tired of seeing Notre Dame in the mix of things. They should be banned from the college football playoff. They should also be banned from playing primetime games because every time they do, they just wet the bed. It pisses me off. They're a waste of a game and a waste of a playoff spot, and I'll stand on that till the day I die. I'll put it this way. I think Michigan's overrated, but I think Notre Dame is double that. They're beyond overrated, and I'm just tired of seeing them in the conversation for anything, even being in the top 25. It's rather simple. They don't have the guys to compete with the Alabama, Georgias, and USC's and Ohio States of the world. I'm not an Ohio State fan by any means, but I would love nothing more for them to go out there and drop 70 on Notre Dame and hold them to like 14 points. I want to see Ohio State blow them out, but we also got another interesting one. I saw the Utah and Florida one. That one don't intrigue me. What about Cincinnati and Arkansas? I didn't know they played, but here we have it, a Cincinnati program that's on the rise and also an Arkansas program that's on the rise. Arkansas really overachieved last year. It didn't end well, but I thought overall their fans were happy. That's going to be a big sleeper game. Not too many people are talking about it, but I'd keep my eyes on that one. And then last but not least, a game that I'm actually excited for. We got LSU and Florida State. I think that one speaks for itself. LSU, their fan base is awesome. They got Brian Kelly. Everyone wants to see what he can do. And then you got Florida State, and they're trying to rebuild. That one's going to be interesting just because we don't know what to expect out of LSU and Florida State. We know what to expect out of Alabama, Georgia, and all these other teams. We just don't know what to expect out of LSU. Clemson's also playing Georgia Tech. Let me know what week 1 matchup you're looking forward to the most. Last but not least, before we end off this video, I've seen everybody doing these bold predictions and hot takes before the season, and I want to read off 2 of them. I saw this one, and this is a hot take coming from a fan, and they said West Virginia wins ACC with JT Daniels. Now, I looked at that maybe like you're looking at it, or maybe how you heard it. I kind of was scratching my head. The reason I was scratching my head is because I had a hard time trying to figure out how in the heck West Virginia is going to win the ACC considering they're in the Big 12. I don't know if that person made that tweet on purpose, but I found that pretty funny. You could definitely chalk that up as a hot take because there's no way it could even happen. Another one I want to share, and it's one I've been thinking about in the offseason, is this person said Tennessee could win the SEC championship And I don't think so, but here's what I do think. My hot take and bold take is that Tennessee wins the SEC East. I don't think they beat whoever comes out of the West, but they could maybe upset Georgia and win the East. For those of you that don't know the SEC West, they got the heavyweights with Alabama, LSU, well, it used to be LSU and Auburn, but now it's Alabama, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Arkansas. The SEC West is by far the big brother, and then the SEC East is like the little cousin. All the East has, and much respect to Tennessee and Kentucky, they're not there quite yet, and nobody's scared of them. They just got Georgia and Florida's been down for the past couple of years. So in reality, everybody just assumes Georgia's going to be the winner. But with Georgia losing 15 players to the NFL draft, we could see an upset. I like that Tennessee one, but yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this video. Let me know your bold takes, hot takes, and just let me know your thoughts on everything in general. But what up, me said, peace.